Imagine being stuck on a merry-go-round that keeps spinning faster the more you try to get off. Every small fight, every misunderstood remark, every forgotten date. Push the button and it spins again. Now imagine one simple insight that explains why this ride never seems to stop for so many couples. She needs love, he needs respect. And without both, the ride becomes the crazy cycle. Today we'll walk through Dr. Emerson Eggerichs' Love and Respect, chapter by chapter, and give you a practical, memorable playbook to break the cycle and build a marriage that grows stronger, not bitter. Let's get into it. Eggerichs begins with a provocative claim. Love is vital, but it's not the whole story. While women typically hunger most for love, men most desperately need respect. He frames the problem in real-life terms: letters, testimonials, and counseling stories. Then points to Ephesians 5 verse 33 as the scriptural foundation. Husbands are called to love. Wives are called to respect. That pairing explains why good-willed couples still hurt each other. The rest of the book maps how couples get trapped in a crazy cycle, how to move into the energizing cycle, and finally, the deeper spiritual rewards of living this way. Part 1. The Crazy Cycle. Chapter 1. The Simple Secret to a Better Marriage. Dr. Emerson Eggerichs opens with a bold and disarmingly simple insight. Many marriages fail not because of a lack of effort, commitment, or good intentions, but because spouses are speaking entirely different emotional languages. His central claim is that a wife's deepest need is love, while a husband's deepest need is respect. When these two needs go unmet, even the most well-meaning couples find themselves locked in patterns of conflict they don't fully understand. Eggerichs roots this idea in both decades of counseling experience and the biblical framework of Ephesians 5 verse 33. Over and over, he observed the same dynamic. A husband may genuinely love his wife, but fail to express it in a way that makes her feel loved, while a wife may genuinely care for her husband, but communicate in ways that feel deeply disrespectful to him. The tragedy is that neither spouse is intentionally trying to hurt the other. This is where the concept of the crazy cycle is introduced. When a wife does not feel loved, she often reacts in ways that come across as critical, dismissive, or controlling. That reaction makes the husband feel disrespected. When a husband feels disrespected, he often withdraws emotionally, becomes defensive, or responds harshly, which makes the wife feel even more unloved. Without realizing it, both spouses keep pressing each other's most sensitive emotional buttons. Eggerichs emphasizes that this cycle can exist even in marriages where both partners are morally upright, faithful, and committed. The problem is not character, it is misunderstanding. Recognizing this simple secret is the first step toward change. Chapter 2. To communicate, decipher the code. In this chapter, Eggerichs explains why communication between husbands and wives so often breaks down, even over trivial issues. He introduces the metaphor of pink and blue glasses. Women tend to hear communication through pink glasses, where the primary filter is love, connection, and emotional tone. Men tend to hear through blue glasses, where the primary filter is respect, competence, and status. This difference means that the same words can carry entirely different meanings. A wife may comment on an issue, finances, parenting, or household tasks, thinking she is simply expressing concern or seeking connection. The husband, however, may hear criticism or a message that he is failing. Likewise, a husband may respond briefly or logically, believing he is being efficient or calm, while his wife hears emotional distance or lack of care. Eggerichs stresses that the issue is rarely the issue. Arguments about minor topics often mask deeper emotional needs. A disagreement about a forgotten errand may really be about feeling unimportant. A sharp response to a suggestion may actually be about feeling disrespected. Understanding the code does not mean suppressing one's feelings. It means learning to interpret what the other person is truly communicating beneath the surface. When couples learn to translate pink and blue correctly, conflict loses much of its destructive power. Chapter 3. Why she won't respect, why he won't love. Here, Eggerichs directly addresses a painful question many couples ask. Why does my spouse withhold the very thing I need most? The answer lies in emotional self-protection. When a wife feels unloved, showing respect can feel impossible or even dishonest. When a husband feels disrespected, expressing love can feel undeserved or unsafe. Eggerichs explains that withholding love or respect is rarely intentional cruelty. Instead, it is a defensive response. A wife who feels ignored or devalued may respond with criticism or contempt, believing she is standing up for herself. A husband who feels belittled may emotionally shut down, believing withdrawal is the safest option. This chapter reinforces the idea that feelings follow actions, not the other way around. Waiting until you feel loving or respectful often means waiting forever. Eggerichs challenges couples to act according to principle rather than emotion. Breaking the crazy cycle requires one spouse, often the more emotionally mature one, to take the first step. Chapter 4. What men fear most can keep the crazy cycle spinning. Eggerichs turns his focus to men and explores the deep fears that often drive male behavior. At the core of many men's emotional reactions is a fear of inadequacy and shame. Disrespect does not merely hurt a man's feelings. It can feel like an attack on his identity and worth. When men sense disrespect, especially in public or in repeated patterns, they often experience it as humiliation. This fear triggers defensive responses such as anger, silence, or emotional withdrawal. Unfortunately, these reactions usually appear cold or unloving to their wives, which intensifies her sense of being emotionally abandoned. Eggerichs emphasizes that understanding this fear is not about excusing bad behavior. Rather, it provides clarity. When wives recognize how deeply respect affects their husbands, they gain insight into why certain words or tones provoke such strong reactions. Addressing fear with respect can calm conflict before it escalates. Chapter 5. She fears being a doormat. He's tired of just not getting it. This chapter tackles one of the biggest objections women raise to the idea of unconditional respect. Many wives fear that showing respect, especially when they feel hurt, will turn them into doormats. They worry that respect rewards bad behavior or silences legitimate concerns. Eggerichs counters this by reframing respect as strategic strength, not weakness. Respect does not mean tolerating abuse, sin, or irresponsibility. It means choosing a posture that keeps communication open and reduces defensiveness. Respect, when given wisely, often motivates positive change far more effectively than criticism. On the other side, Eggerichs describes the male frustration of never getting it right. Many husbands feel that no matter how hard they try, their efforts go unnoticed or are met with correction. This chronic sense of failure erodes motivation and emotional openness. Understanding both fears allows couples to see each other not as enemies, but as wounded partners trying to protect themselves. Chapter 6. She worries about being a hypocrite. He complains, I get no respect. Eggerichs addresses the moral resistance some wives feel toward respecting a husband they believe does not deserve it. Respect, they argue, must be earned. To give it without feeling it seems dishonest or hypocritical. Eggerichs responds by distinguishing respect as an action from respect as a feeling. Just as love can be expressed even when emotions are strained, respect can be practiced as a conscious choice. This does not deny reality. It creates space for change. Meanwhile, husbands often feel chronically disrespected without being able to articulate why. They may simply say, I get no respect, without understanding the specific behaviors that communicate disrespect. Eggerichs encourages clarity, humility, and patience on both sides. Chapter 7. She thinks she can't forgive him. He says, nobody can love that woman. Forgiveness becomes the focus in this emotionally intense chapter. Some wounds feel too deep to heal easily. Wives may feel unable to forgive betrayal, neglect, or repeated disappointment. Husbands may convince themselves their wives are impossible to love due to constant negativity or rejection. Eggerichs does not minimize these struggles. Instead, he emphasizes that forgiveness is not forgetting or excusing. It is releasing the right to retaliate. Healing often begins with small, intentional acts of love and respect that slowly soften hardened hearts. The chapter reinforces that transformation is a process. Progress may be slow, but persistent effort can create new emotional patterns. Part 2. The Energizing Cycle. Eggerichs moves from diagnosis to strategy. The energizing cycle is intentionally reciprocal. His love motivates her respect. Her respect motivates his love. He gives 2 acronyms, CUPLE for husbands and CHARS for wives, each with 6 practical behaviors to energize the marriage. Chapter 8. CUPLE. How to spell love to your wife. With Chapter 8, Eggerichs transitions from diagnosis to practical instruction. He introduces the CUPLE acronym as a clear framework for husbands to express love in ways that resonate deeply with their wives. CUPLE stands for Closeness, Openness, Understanding, Peacemaking, Loyalty, and Esteem. These 6 elements reflect the primary ways many women experience love. Eggerichs stresses that love is not merely an internal feeling. It must be communicated through consistent, observable behavior. Chapter 9. Closeness. She wants you to be close. Closeness refers to emotional and relational presence. Eggerichs explains that many wives interpret love through time, attention, and availability. Physical presence alone is not enough. Closeness requires engagement. Small habits, regular conversation, shared routines, and intentional time build a sense of security. When a husband prioritizes closeness, his wife feels valued and emotionally safe, reducing the likelihood of conflict rooted in loneliness. Chapter 10. Openness. She wants you to open up to her. Openness means sharing thoughts, feelings, and inner experiences. Eggerichs notes that many men were taught to suppress emotion, making openness uncomfortable. However, emotional transparency fosters trust and connection. Openness does not mean oversharing or constant emotional analysis. It means allowing a wife access to the husband's inner world, his concerns, dreams, struggles, and reflections. This sharing reassures her that she matters. Chapter 11. Understanding. Don't try to fix her, just listen. This chapter challenges men's natural instinct to solve problems. Often, when a wife shares frustration, she is seeking empathy, not solutions. Jumping straight to advice can make her feel unheard or dismissed. Eggerichs encourages reflective listening, acknowledging feelings, asking clarifying questions, and validating her emotional experience. This form of understanding communicates love more powerfully than any quick fix. Chapter 12. Peacemaking. She wants you to say, "I'm sorry." Peacemaking centers on humility and reconciliation. Eggerichs emphasizes the power of sincere apologies. Saying, "I'm sorry," does not signal weakness. It demonstrates emotional leadership. When husbands take responsibility for mistakes and seek peace, tension dissolves. Peacemaking reassures a wife that the relationship matters more than pride, creating a foundation of trust and emotional safety. Chapter 13. Loyalty. She needs to know you're committed. Loyalty, as Eggerichs presents it, goes far beyond physical faithfulness. It is the deep assurance a wife needs that her husband is emotionally, relationally, and publicly committed to her. Loyalty answers one of a wife's quiet but constant questions. Am I safe with you? A loyal husband does not undermine his wife through sarcasm, private criticism, or comparison with other women. He protects her image when she is present and when she is not. This protection builds trust and stability, especially during conflict. When disagreements arise, loyalty means standing with her against the problem rather than standing against her as an opponent. Eggerichs emphasizes that loyalty is communicated through consistency. Repeated actions, choosing the marriage, prioritizing the relationship, and reassuring commitment help a wife relax emotionally. When loyalty is felt, defensive behaviors soften, and connection becomes easier. Chapter 14. Esteem. She wants you to honor and cherish her. Esteem is the expression of love through honor, affirmation, and appreciation. Eggerichs explains that many wives long to be cherished not just for what they do, but for who they are. Esteem involves noticing effort, acknowledging sacrifice, and celebrating strengths. Words play a powerful role here. Compliments, gratitude, and verbal recognition communicate value. Silence, on the other hand, is often interpreted as indifference. Eggerichs stresses that esteem should be specific and sincere. Generic praise feels empty, while thoughtful acknowledgement builds emotional security. Esteem also involves gentle treatment. A husband who speaks kindly, listens attentively, and shows patience communicates that his wife is precious. This sense of being honored reinforces her emotional well-being and strengthens the bond between them. Chapter 15. Cherish. How to spell respect to your husband. With Chapter 15, Eggerichs introduces the parallel framework for wives, Cherish. Just as women experience love in specific ways, men experience respect through distinct emotional channels. These 6 dimensions represent core male desires and vulnerabilities. Cherish stands for conquest, hierarchy, authority, insight, relationship, and sexuality. Respect is communicated when a wife acknowledges and supports these dimensions in healthy, constructive ways. Eggerichs reiterates that respect does not mean silence, submission without thought, or agreement with wrongdoing. It means choosing responses that affirm a husband's dignity. Chapter 16. Conquest. Appreciate his desire to work and achieve. Conquest refers to a man's drive to accomplish, build, and provide. Eggerichs explains that many men tie their sense of worth to productivity and achievement. Work is not merely a task. It is often an expression of identity and responsibility. When a wife shows appreciation for her husband's efforts, whether or not they result in immediate success, she communicates respect. Simple recognition of hard work, perseverance, and intention strengthens his confidence. Conversely, constant criticism or comparison undermines motivation. Eggerichs encourages wives to distinguish between correcting behavior and devaluing effort. Appreciation fuels initiative, while contempt drains it. Chapter 17. Hierarchy. Appreciate his desire to protect and provide. Hierarchy addresses a man's instinct to protect and provide for those he loves. Eggerichs clarifies that this is not about dominance or superiority. It is about responsibility and care. Men often feel respected when their role as protector and provider is acknowledged. This can be communicated through trust, affirmation, and gratitude. When a wife expresses confidence in her husband's intentions and efforts, it reinforces his sense of purpose. Disrespect in this area often comes through dismissal or public correction. Eggerichs urges sensitivity, noting that honoring this desire helps stabilize the marriage dynamic. Chapter 18. Authority. Appreciate his desire to serve and to lead. Authority, as Eggerichs defines it, is servant leadership. It involves initiative, responsibility, and accountability. Men often feel respected when their leadership is supported rather than constantly challenged. This does not mean a wife cannot express opinions or concerns. It means choosing a tone and timing that affirms partnership rather than competition. Respectful dialogue encourages collaboration, while contempt creates resistance. Eggerichs emphasizes that authority works best when paired with love and humility. Leadership flourishes when respect is present. Chapter 19. Insight. Appreciate his desire to analyze and counsel. Many men enjoy solving problems and offering solutions. Insight refers to this analytical tendency. Eggerichs explains that when a wife seeks her husband's perspective and receives it appreciatively, it reinforces his sense of usefulness and competence. Dismissal or ridicule of his ideas can feel deeply disrespectful, even if unintended. Acknowledging insight does not require agreement. It requires appreciation for effort and intention. When insight is valued, communication becomes more cooperative and less adversarial. Chapter 20. Relationship. Appreciate his desire for shoulder-to-shoulder friendship. Men often connect relationally through shared activity rather than face-to-face emotional dialogue. Eggerichs calls this shoulder-to-shoulder companionship. It includes working on projects, engaging in hobbies, or simply spending time together doing something meaningful. This form of connection helps men feel accepted and respected. Participation and encouragement matter more than verbal affirmation alone. When a wife engages in shared activities, she communicates partnership and friendship. Chapter 21. Sexuality. Appreciate his desire for sexual intimacy. Sexuality is a deeply significant expression of connection for many men. Eggerichs emphasizes that sexual intimacy is not merely physical. It often carries emotional meaning tied to acceptance and respect. When sexual desire is met with affirmation rather than rejection or contempt, it strengthens emotional bonds. Eggerichs stresses sensitivity and mutual consideration, making clear that respect never requires violating personal boundaries. Instead, it calls for openness, understanding, and care. Chapter 22. The Energizing Cycle will work if you do. This chapter reinforces the practical reality of the energizing cycle. Love motivates respect, and respect motivates love. Eggerichs stresses that this cycle is not automatic. It requires intentional practice. Consistency matters more than perfection. Small, repeated acts of love and respect gradually reshape emotional patterns. Couples who commit to these behaviors often experience reduced conflict and renewed closeness. Part 3. The Rewarded Cycle. Chapter 23. The Real Reason to Love and Respect. Eggerichs shifts focus to motivation. The ultimate reason for practicing love and respect is not control or manipulation, but obedience, growth, and transformation. Love and respect reflect a higher calling that transcends immediate feelings. When spouses choose these behaviors despite difficulty, they grow in maturity and character. The marriage becomes a context for spiritual development rather than constant struggle. Chapter 24. The Truth Can Make You Free, Indeed. The final chapter centers on freedom. Eggerichs explains that understanding and applying love and respect liberates couples from reactive patterns and emotional exhaustion. Freedom comes from replacing instinctive reactions with intentional responses. Over time, trust deepens, conflict lessens, and intimacy increases. The truth about love and respect, once practiced, has the power to reshape not only marriages, but the people within them. Pink and blue can make God's purple. Eggerichs closes by returning to the metaphor of pink and blue blending into purple. When husband and wife meet each other's deepest needs, her need for love and his need for respect, they resemble the unity God intended. The book closes with exhortation, practical appendix resources, word lists, inventories, and scripts, an encouragement to try the 6-week experiment. Deliberately practice love and respect and watch the marriage change. If this summary connected with you, here's one practical next step. Pick one item from COUPLE and one from CHARS and commit to practicing them for 1 week. Journal what shifts. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, subscribe for more chapter-by-chapter breakdowns and practical takeaways from books that change relationships. See you next time.